As men and women of European blood and culture, we face challenges on many fronts. These challenges are existential. In other words, we must solve them or face extinction. These challenges fall into three major categories, three realms of action, or battlefields, if you will, and I'll devote a separate article and video to each one of these. The first battlefield, and the most important, is spirituality. Even hardcore materialists understand that religion is a force that shapes history and politics because it deals with fundamental values and worldview. The Saxons of old Europe, for example, rose up to fight against Charlemagne not once but several times because he demanded that they become Christians. The Saxons were fighting not just for political sovereignty, but for their gods as well. Likewise, the Viking raids out of Scandinavia were motivated in part by resistance to Christian conversion efforts. Politics, spirituality, and values are all integral to the very soul of any nation or tribe or culture or race. Some famous person, I think it might have been Carl Jung, but I can't find the quote, wrote that spirituality is to politics as 3 is to 1. I put it differently. Spirituality is upstream from politics. Politics takes its shape from culture, attitudes, values, all of which are reflected in the spirituality of the group. The greatest impact on a nation or a civilization is not a political party or a platform, but rather the fundamental values of that group. My loyalty to my gods does not spring from politics, but the two are mutually consistent and mutually reinforcing. In native religions, such as ancestral, it cannot be otherwise. For example, when the American Indian movement was organizing some decades back, the first thing its political leaders did was to seek advice and blessing from the spiritual leaders of the various tribes. Similarly, the resurgence of our folk must be informed by and empowered by our native spirituality. Ancestral, the native religion of the Germanic tribes, is our equivalent to the religion of the American Indians. Celtic and Slavic paganism are also ancestral European religions and serve a similar role. Ancestral is thriving, but organizations are made up of people, and each of us must strive to live the faith of our ancient forebears as wholly as we can. The personal spiritual power of any one of us contributes to the spiritual might of us all. It strengthens our collective soul, our cumulative spiritual essence. Our personal devotion is the simplest, most direct way that each one of us, peasant or prince, scholar or laborer, man or woman, sophisticated or simple, can make our contribution to the welfare, success, and victory of our people. We must each strive to do so, knowing that we serve not just ourselves or our friends or even our co-religionists, but our entire people everywhere on earth. I should make it clear that although I am personally dedicated to ancestral, I am happy to work with atheists, agnostics, and people of other faiths to accomplish mutual objectives. My belief is that many, or even most of the attitudes and values that we admire in Western civilization have their origins in our pre-Christian heritage. And for those who want to make a difference, I recommend the following groups. I'm involved with both of them. The Ancestral Folk Assembly, or AFA, is the most dynamic and influential ancestral organization on the planet. I recommend joining and helping us become even more successful. Current achievements include 3 functioning hofs or temples. 2 of them are in buildings that were formerly churches. And as these words are written, Hof number 4 is in the works. You can contact the AFA at runestone.org. For those wanting to know more about our faith, I recommend my book, Ancestral, A Native European Spirituality, which goes into detail about the theory and practice of ancestral in the AFA and beyond. The other group I recommend is Wotan Network, which is not a church, but rather describes itself as a networked influence operation to invoke the might of the Germanic god Wotan, or Odin, for the awakening of the European descended peoples. Wotan Network acts spiritually, metapolitically, and politically. Much of its focus is on disseminating memes via social media and physical activism such as climbing mountains, large or small, to give honor to Wotan, then posting these feats broadly on social media. Their website is wotan-network.com, and Wotan Network posts on Gab, VK, Telegram, and other social media which is not censored by the establishment. Ultimately, the survival and welfare of the European descended peoples is a spiritual issue. We must love who and what we are. The battle for our existence and for the attainment of our high destiny is first and foremost a spiritual one. We must win on that battlefield before we can win on the cultural and political battlefields. And we will win, not by forcibly converting anyone to our faith, but by influencing the values, attitudes, and behavior of those around us, regardless of their religion or lack thereof. Coming next, the second battlefield, privacy and freedom from surveillance.